Hey guys, welcome back to more malicious compliance stories. In this video, my boss called my IT team useless code monkeys and said that her customer service staff did not need us. So I gave her 2 full weeks without IT support, without restrictions and without interference. By the end of it, she was not smirking anymore. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is from r/maliciouscompliance and is titled, "He is finally gone and all I had to do was nothing." Do you know that guy at work that everyone hates? The rude, obnoxious, lazy one that no one quite understands how he still has a job? Well, mine's name was Bob, and for months Bob partnered himself up with me with a lovely 90-10 split of the work. Anytime I called out on it, he got more and more obnoxious, and if it was actually possible, did less and less work. On top of all his other charming traits, Bob is an absolute phone addict. This is bad enough in a regular setting. Where we work though, it's actually very dangerous not to be paying attention to what's going on around you. I've mentioned this to Bob repeatedly, but to no avail, even after he was nearly hit by a forklift and almost had his head smacked by a robot. Our manager at the time said, "If you're stupid enough to die because you wouldn't put down your phone, no one is gonna miss you," and ignored the behavior. My last straw at even attempting to get this guy to work and to be safe was him snapping off, "Leave me alone about my ducking phone." Well, we just got a new manager, partially because of our former manager's attitude towards safety issues, partly because of poor performance. However, the new manager had a quick, to-the-point meeting at the beginning of our shifts and stated very clearly, "I see your phone, you're fired. No excuses, no exceptions." Bob missed this meeting because he was running late again. About 2 hours later, I see the new manager walking to our area. Bob, as usual, was heading down staring at his phone. Remember when he specifically said to leave him alone about his ducking phone? Well, that's exactly what I did. Our new boss wound up standing behind him for a solid 3 minutes before Bob even noticed that he was there. Bob was promptly escorted to HR, and I was apologized to by the new manager because I would have to run the work area solo until a replacement was found. No big loss. The extra 10% is well worth knowing that guy won't be around anymore. Guess no one at that job will bother him about his damn phone again. And the next one is titled, "Cut the IT team in half. I will outsource your entire department." And by the way guys, if you enjoy the malicious compliance stories, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you very much. So I've been working in IT for close to 30 years now. I started back when cloud computing just meant a really overcast day and a 56K modem was the height of luxury. I've seen technologies come and go, I've seen the .com bubbles burst, and I've fixed more printers than any human being should ever have to touch in a single lifetime. Currently, I'm the senior systems administrator for a BPO, business process outsourcing company, down here in Nicaragua. For those of you who don't know the landscape, Nicaragua has become a bit of a hub for call centers and back office support because the workforce is young, bilingual, and to be blunt, cheaper than in the US or Europe. Our office is in Managua, I'm not sure, right in the thick of the humidity and the chaotic traffic. It's a nice building, good air conditioning, which is the most important perk you can have in this country, and I run a team of 12 guys. We are a mix of older expats like me who settled down here for the low cost of living, and sharp local kids who are wizards when it comes to computers but maybe lack the cynicism that only decades in the corporate trenches can provide. We run a tight ship, or at least we try to, but in the BPO world, the margins are thin and the pressure is always on to cut costs. Enter Karen. That is not her real name, obviously, but if you saw her, you would know exactly why I am calling her that. She was the vice president of customer service operations. She had transferred down from a branch in the States about 6 months prior to the incident, and from day one, she decided that I was her mortal enemy. Karen was in her early 30s, climbed the corporate ladder by stepping on fingers, and possessed an MBA that she seemed to believe gave her a degree in computer science, engineering, and psychology all wrapped into one. But her defining trait, the thing that really made our interactions sparkle with hatred, was her absolute disdain for anyone over the age of 40. She looked at me and saw a dinosaur. She saw a budget line item that was too high. She saw someone who did not get the modern agility of business. It started with small digs in in the break room. I'd be getting my coffee black, no sugar, and she would breeze in, tapping furiously on her phone. "Still drinking that sludge, OP?" she would ask, not looking up. "You know, with the heart issues men your age have, you should really switch to herbal tea. Gotta keep the ticker running if you want to make it to retirement." "My heart is fine, Karen," I would say. "It's the tolerance for nonsense that is failing, though." She would laugh, a sharp, humorless sound. "You are so retro, I love it. It's like having a museum exhibit running the server room." I just ignored it mostly. I had servers to patch and a team to manage, but Karen was not just annoying, she was dangerous. She was obsessed with the idea that IT was a blocker. In her mind, every security protocol, every firewall rule, every password complexity requirement was just us, old men, trying to control her dynamic, youthful team. Her department, the customer service reps, handled sensitive data. I mean, we're talking about credit card numbers, personal addresses, social security numbers for our client customers in the US, and so on. The security protocols were not there because they thought they were fun, they were there because we were legally contractually obligated to have them. But Karen didn't care about any contracts, she cared about average handle time and call resolution metrics. The tension came to a head during the Q3 budget review. We were all gathered in the main conference room, the AC was blasting, battling the tropical heat outside. The country director, a nice but spineless guy named Bobby, sat at the head of the table. I was there with my number 2, a local guy named Matteo, who is brilliant but hates conflict, and then there was Karen, flanked by 2 of her team leads, sycophants who nodded every time she breathed. Karen had the floor. She had a PowerPoint presentation up on the screen that was full of buzzwords like synergy, holistic workflow, and frictionless environments. "The problem," Karen said, gesturing vaguely at the screen, "is that we are carrying dead weight. We are a modern, agile company, but our support structures are stuck in the 90s. She clicked the remote. A graph appeared. It showed IT costs versus customer service revenue. "I've done the analysis," she continued, looking directly at me with a smirk. "The IT department is costing us a fortune, and what do we get for it? Delays and constant ticket queues. My team cannot install the apps they need to do their jobs because they have to ask permission from OP's team for every little thing. It is infantilizing." I leaned forward. "Karen, your team does not have admin rights because they tried to install pirated software and kinds of other nonsense on company hardware. We lock it down to prevent malware." "See?" Karen threw her hands up, turning to Bobby. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. The fear-mongering, it's an outdated mindset." "Oh, scary malware." "Bobby, my team are digital natives. They grew up with technology. They knew how to use a computer better than the people supposedly fixing them." She took a breath and delivered the killing blow. "I propose we cut the IT department by 50%, specifically the senior staff." She glanced at me. "We can keep a few of the junior guys for hardware swaps, but the administration? We don't need it. My team can handle their own software needs. We are paying OP and his senior staff huge salaries to be useless code monkeys who just say no to everything. We are paying for a babysitter when the kids are already grown up." The room went silent, and Bobby looked uncomfortable. "OP has been here a long time, Karen. His knowledge of the infrastructure is obsolete," Karen interrupted. "Bobby, look at the numbers. I can save this company $20,000 a month in salaries alone. Plus, if we remove the IT restrictions, my team's efficiency will skyrocket. We'll take more calls, close more tickets, and we are being held back by these dinosaurs." I felt the anger in me rising, but I pushed it down. I looked at Matteo. He was staring at the table, clutching his pen. "So," I said, my voice very calm, "let me get this straight. You want to fire half my team, including me, and give your customer service reps full administrative access to their machines? And you want to remove the web filters, the download restrictions, and so on?" "I want autonomy," Karen said. "I want my team to be treated like adults, and yeah, I want to stop wasting money on redundant salaries for people who just sit in an air-conditioned room and make up rules." Bobby looked at me. "OP, what do you think? Can we run leaner?" I looked at Karen. She was gloating. She thought she had won. She thought she was maneuvering the old man out of the door, and that is when my idea formed. It was not just compliance, it was a survival strategy. "Bobby," I said, "I think Karen actually makes a very compelling point." Karen blinked. She hadn't expected that. "She does?" Bobby asked. "Absolutely," I said. "Maybe I'm too cautious here. Maybe the industry really has moved on, and I'm just holding on to old habits. If Karen's team is as tech-savvy as she says, maybe we are just getting in the way." I stood up and walked over to the whiteboard. Here's my counter-proposal. We don't fire anyone just yet. That would trigger severance packages and labor board reviews, and here in Nicaragua that's a nightmare of paperwork, let me tell you. You know the labor code, Bobby. Article 45 is expensive. Bobby nodded. He hated the Ministry of Labor. Instead, I continued, we do a 2-week trial run. Effective Monday, the IT department will step back and we will grant Karen's designated supervisors full local administrative rights. We will lift the web filters on the CSV LAN. We will stop the proactive monitoring of their workstations and we will become invisible just like Karen wants. We will only respond to catastrophic hardware failure like a server catching fire. Everything else, software updates, printer mapping, application installation, password resets, Karen's digital natives handle it. I looked at Karen. You said your team can handle it, right? You said we are useless. We can absolutely handle it, Karen said, though her eyes narrowed slightly. She was suspicious of my capitulation, but her ego was too big to back down. It'll be the most productive 2 weeks this company has ever seen. Great, I said. If after 2 weeks everything is running smoothly and efficiency is up, I will voluntarily resign and you can cut the department as you see fit. But if something goes wrong, well, that's on you, Karen. Deal, she said. She actually looked excited. She thought she had just bluffed me into retirement, and the meeting was adjourned. As we walked out, Karen leaned in close to me. Start polishing your resume, Pops. Maybe you can find a job fixing typewriters. I just smiled. Be careful what you wish for, Karen. Back in the server room, I gathered my team. They were panicking. Rumors fly fast in the BPO. Are we getting fired, boss? Matteo asked. No, I said. We're going on vacation. Well, a working vacation. I explained the plan. The guys were hesitant at first. They were good techs. It went against their nature to let systems degrade, but when I told them what Karen had called them, useless code monkeys, their demeanor changed. She called us what? Carlos, one of my network engineers, asked. Useless code monkeys, I repeated. She thinks you guys don't do anything. Man, I reset her assistant's password 3 times yesterday because she keeps forgetting it. Carlos grumbled. Exactly, I said. So starting Monday, we stop. And here's the plan. We are going to isolate the customer service VLAN. We are going to treat it like a hostile network. I want a firewall rule that allows them access to the internet and the necessary CRM tools, but blocks them entirely from the internal corporate shared drive, the finance servers, and the HR database. If they sink the ship, I want to make sure they are the only ones in the lifeboat. We spent the weekend setting the trap. We didn't sabotage anything. I want to be clear about that. We didn't break a single thing, we simply removed the safety rails, and we created a group policy object specifically for Karen's department. We removed the restrictions on installing software, and we turned off the forced Windows updates since she always complained they slowed down the PCs. We disabled the web filter that blocked social media, gambling sites, and questionable streaming services. Then we waited. Monday came. I sat in my office monitoring the network traffic graphs. The first thing that happened was a spike in bandwidth usage, massive. Within 2 hours of the shift starting, traffic to YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram skyrocketed. I hope to my channel, by the way. Look at that, Matteo said, pointing to the monitor. Productivity in action. Let it ride, I said. Around 10 AM, the first ticket came in. Printer not mapping. I replied to the ticket myself. Per agreement with VP of CS, desktop support is now handled by CSOPS. Please refer to your supervisor. Closed. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was one of Karen's supervisors. OP, hey, yeah, we cannot print. The printer's not showing up. Hey, sorry, I said, putting on my best helpful voice. Remember the meeting? Karen said you guys are digital natives and we were just getting in the way of you. You have admin rights now. You can add the printer manually via IP address. You don't need me. Okay, what's the IP? Good luck! I hung up. By Wednesday, the atmosphere in the customer service pit was chaotic but cheerful. They were listening to music on Spotify, they were watching Netflix in minimized windows between calls, and Karen walked by my glass-walled office and gave me a thumbs up, a smug grin plastered on her face. She looked like she had just conquered the world. She did not know that 3 of her digital natives had already installed a cracked version of a video game that was silently mining crypto in the background, heating up their GPUs. We saw the traffic, but we didn't block it. We just locked it. Documentation is key. By the second week, the cracks were starting to show. Without us forcing restarts for updates, machines were getting sluggish, the cache files were not being cleared. The admin rights we gave them meant that everyone was customizing their desktops with third-party widgets that were eating up the RAM. The tickets to our queue had stopped coming because they knew we shouldn't help, so they started doing shadow IT. We saw them bringing in personal laptops and tethering them to the company Wi-Fi, which we had graciously allowed them to access, logging every device MAC address. On Wednesday of week 2, Karen stormed into my office and she looked frazzled. "The internet is slow," she barked. "Is it?" I asked, looking at my screens. "Our side seems fine, finance is fine, HR is fine." "Well, my side is crawling, your servers must be acting up." "My servers are green across the board, Karen, but I noticed your team is pulling about 4 terabytes of data a day. A lot of that seems to be coming from, let's see, hdmoviesfree.net? Is that a business-critical site?" She flushed red. "My team needs to decompress between stressful calls. That's part of the modern workplace culture. Just fix the bandwidth, allocate more to us." "I cannot do that without compromising the voice-over-IP quality for the client calls." I lied. "I could have, but why would I? You wanted autonomy, you have the bandwidth, manage it." She stormed out. "Useless," she muttered. Then came Friday, the last day of the trial. I was honestly expecting a whimper slow degradation until they begged us to come back, but I was not expecting the bang. But when you give untrained people admin rights and internet access in a country known for lax cybersecurity hygiene, you are asking for the bang. It started at 2:15 p.m. One of the supervisors, a guy named Ricardo, who was actually one of Karen's favorites because he drove metrics, received an email. It was a classic phishing attempt, not even a good one. It claimed to be an invoice from a vendor, but the extension was .exe, disguised as a PDF. Normally, our mail filter would have caught it, but Karen had demanded that we whitelist several external domains because IT blocks important client emails. One of those domains was a generic free email provider she used for her networking. The phishing email came from a spoofed address on that domain. Ricardo, being a digital native with full admin rights, clicked the link. Windows Defender even popped up a warning. He clicked allow because obviously the antivirus is just IT trying to stop him from working. The payload was not just a virus, it was ransomware. Because we had isolated the VLAN in advance, the damage didn't spread to the servers, but it tore through the customer service subnet like a wildfire. I was watching the dashboard when the alerts went red. CPU usage spiked to 100% on 60 machines simultaneously, and then the screaming started. I walked out of my office and stood on the balcony overlooking the call center floor. It was chaos. People were standing up, ripping headsets off. "My screen is black. All my files are gone. It says I have to pay Bitcoin." Karen was running around like a headless chicken. "Reboot, just reboot them," she was yelling. I sipped my coffee. "Black, no sugar." Matteo walked up next to me. "Should we intervene?" "Not yet," I said. "Let it marinate." Karen spotted me on the balcony. She sprinted up the stairs, her face pale. "OP, do something. Everything is locked. We have customers on the line." "I thought we were useless code monkeys, Karen," I said calmly. "I thought you handled your own tech support." "This is not the time for your petty games. Fix it." "I cannot just fix ransomware, Karen. Your team installed it. They gave it permission. They bypassed the security warnings." "I don't care. Just make it work." "Okay," I said. "I can wipe the machines and re-image them, but it'll take about 4 hours. But all the local data is gone. The saved passwords, the sticky notes, the local spreadsheets you guys love so much, it's all gone." "You cannot restore it?" "I could have," I said, "if you had not demanded that we stop the automated backup service because it was slowing down the computers." She looked like she was gonna vomit. "Do it! Wipe them!" The outage lasted 6 hours. We stayed late on a Friday to re-image 60 computers. We built the overtime to Karen's department code, but the real fallout then happened on Monday. The data breach was not just local. The malware had scraped browser caches before it locked the machines. It had grabbed login credentials for the CRM, for the email accounts, and yes, for the client portal. On Sunday night, we got a call from the client in the US. They had detected suspicious activity. Someone was accessing customer accounts from an IP address in Russia and initiating refunds to untraceable gift cards. They traced the credential leak back to us, specifically to Ricardo's machine. Monday morning, the mood in the office was funereal. There were lawyers present, not just our lawyers, but legal counsel representing the client. We were all in the boardroom again. Bobby looked 10 years older and Karen looked like she had not slept in 3 days. I sat there with a thick folder of logs. "So," Bobby said, his voice shaking, "we lost a client. They terminated the contract effective immediately. That is 60% of our revenue gone overnight." Karen immediately pointed a finger at me. "This is IT's fault. They turned off the security. They let this happen to sabotage me." I didn't shout. I didn't get angry. I opened my folder. "Bobby," I said, "I have here the minutes from our last meeting where Karen explicitly requested, and I quote, Autonomy from IT restrictions. I also have the email where I confirmed the terms of the trial run, which Karen signed, and I slid the paper across the table. I also have the logs. I continued. Here's the log showing Supervisor Ricardo downloading a file named invoiceurgent.exe. Here's the log showing Windows Defender blocking it. And here's the log showing Ricardo using his administrator credentials, which Karen demanded he have, to override the block and execute the files. I pulled out another sheet, and here's the traffic log showing that prior to the infection, the customer service department spent 40% of their bandwidth on Netflix, Facebook, and a site called Hot Latina Single. Productive week. Karen was sputtering, You should have stopped us, you're the IT director. It's your job to protect the company, even if we tell you not to. I tried, I said. For 6 months I tried and you called me a dinosaur. You called my team useless and you said you could handle it. This is not negligence, Karen, it's just giving you exactly what you asked for so you can see why the rules existed in the first place. Bobby looked at Karen. The look was not anger anymore, it was cold realization. Karen, Bobby said, pack your things. You cannot fire me. I have a contract. You violated the acceptable use policy, the gross negligence clause, and you cost us our biggest client, Bobby said. The lawyers are drafting the termination letter for cause, and if you're lucky, we won't sue you for damages. Get out. Karen left. There was no snappy comeback anymore. No, okay, boomer. She just walked out, defeated. The aftermath was brutal but necessary. Because we lost a big client, the company had to downsize, but they did not cut IT. They needed us more than ever to secure the ship and prove to new clients that we were like Fort Knox. Instead, they looked at the customer service department, the department that was now overstaffed because there were no calls coming in anymore. Bobby called me in a week later and said, We are outsourcing the remaining CS work, he said. We found a partner in the Philippines. They are cheaper and frankly, I don't want to deal with managing that many people here anymore. What about the local team? I asked. Most of them are being let go, Bobby sighed. We are keeping a skeleton crew for bilingual escalations, but the bulk of the department? It is gone, outsourced. We just cannot afford them. It was a shame for the regular employees who just got caught up in Karen's ego trip. I felt bad for them. But in Nicaragua, the job market is tough, but it's liquid. They would find work at another call center down the street within a week. As for my team though, Bobby gave us a raise. He realized that the expensive salaries he was paying us were actually an insurance premium against total catastrophe. We went back to our strict policies, no admin rights for non-IT folks, web filters on, USB ports disabled. We finally had peace again. And yeah guys, if you have watched this far, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. Thank you for the support. And the next one is from r/Maliciouscompliance and is titled Scan Every Item Individually. Okay, boss. So I once worked at a big box retail store where management loved making up random rules to boost productivity. One day, our floor supervisor decided we were no longer allowed to scan full cases of items. Instead, we had to scan each individual unit, even if there were 24 identical cans in the box. His reasons? Inventory accuracy. I pointed out that the system already accounted for cases properly and this would slow down stocking, but he just said, don't care, one at a time. That's an order. So we began doing it this way and it went well because we didn't really get a lot of the same items that day. However, on my next shift, I got a pallet of canned corn, 96 cans in 4 large cases. I cracked open every case, scanned each can one at a time and placed them carefully on the shelf like I was arranging fine china. It took me about 40 minutes to do what normally takes 10 minutes. I did this for every similar item the whole day. By lunch, the back room was a disaster. The line of carts waiting to be stocked had tripled and other departments were short-staffed because people had come to help us. By the end of the day, the supervisor was fuming. Why is this taking so long? I reminded him what he said. I'm just following your order exactly. He tried to backpedal, but I asked if he wanted it in writing that I should ignore his previous instruction, and he dropped it. By the next day, the rule was gone and we were back to scanning cases. And yeah guys, thanks for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.